Hey guys, here's a continuation of my interview with David Icke. I know a lot of you disagree with his bizarre assertions, and I don't agree with everything he says either, but check it out. He weighs in on Donald Trump. Enjoy.
Let me ask you a real quick question on that then, because you touched on the elections going on here in the States and this idea of normalcy. There's a lot of people right now, even in libertarian camps or even anarchist camps, who are basically jumping ship and hopping onto the Trump bandwagon because they see this guy as outside the normal, somebody who's going to come against the establishment. Do you see Donald Trump as a different candidate who can actually move things and shake things, or is he somebody that's actually playing into the hands of the power brokers that actually control this planet?
Well, you know, I have something I call the default position. I see people all the time in certain situations reverting to default position. So, for instance, after election after election after election after election after election into infinity, of seeing increasingly obviously two candidates who are nothing more than masks on the same face, and quite demonstrably, fighting presidential elections. More and more people, not least of course in the alternative media, have said, what's the point in voting? You're just voting for two people who are controlled by the same force, basically. And then along comes Trump. And suddenly they're back to default position. And that default position is politics can change anything. And so instead of, again, holding that position of the whole political system is rigged and people come to power and to attention because they're either acceptable to the system or absolutely 100% funded by the system, instead of holding that position of what I would say was reality, they go to default position, which is no, politics can change it. I think that this guy's different. Now, I remember speaking in Los Angeles. We'll speak there soon again in September when I come to the United States to speak. And I was talking that night. It was in the run-up to the election between McCain and Obama, and so they were saying that, was it McCain and Obama? We went against him in the first one.
Yeah,
it was McCain. It was.
Yeah, McCain and Obama in 2008.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, time just bloody flies. You lose track of time.
It does.
Anyway, I was talking there about the fact that Obama was nothing different to all the rest. He was just another version of it. And I wrote an article which got me a lot of stick at the time, which was Barack Obama, the emperor's new clothes, or words to that effect. And I talked to a Democrat talk show host afterwards, and he said to me, I bet you anything you like that Obama's not going to be what you say he is. This guy's different. And I remember saying to him, look, mate, I don't want to take your money, because it was painfully obvious that he was. One simple reason, alone among many others, Obama broke all the records for funding, and the funding of his campaign came from all the usual suspects, the banks and the corporations and what have you. They're not turkeys voting for Christmas. So, but people were saying, because he had this constant mantra of change, I stand for change, I stand for change, I stand for change, that he was different. They bought it. And of course, what he turned out to be was just a continuation of what went before. You know, the list of countries for so-called regime change that appeared in that document by the Project for the New American Century, that the people of the writers and authors of which then came to power with Bush in early 2001, they had a list of countries that they wanted to regime change using multiple theater wars using their language. And they were Iraq, they were Syria, they were Libya, and so on. But they hadn't done all of them by the time Obama came in. And he's a Democrat, right? He's not Bush. And what has he done? He's continued to do the same, to pick off the same countries on the list. So it's a one-party state masquerading as a so-called free democracy. So when another person comes along, like Trump, I can see the way that people think, no, this guy's different. But let's ask a few things here. First of all, it's no good the alternative media saying that, quite rightly, the whole financial system, banking system, financial system is controlled by a network of the hidden hand and creates money out of nothing on computer screens, and thus basically creates money as a debt to start with, which is the foundation of so many of the human problems and so many of the aspects of human control. But here we have a guy who claims to be a billionaire, who's made his fortune overwhelmingly in property and things like that, which requires enormous amounts of cash flow from the financial system. And if Donald Trump wasn't serving that system and wasn't at least, the very least, acceptable to that system, then they could have crushed him anytime they wanted. And yet I see people saying that although this guy's done all this, although he's been connected to some very, very shady people in his life, that somehow he's different.
Now, are you saying are you saying they could have crushed him anytime they liked because they can tap into unlimited resources and crush him? Is that the reason they could? They have the power to do that?
If you control the financial system on the scale that they do, you can crush anybody. You can crush anyone financially. When you control things like the IRS, which this same network does, one of their great ways of destroying people without people realizing that that's what's happening is to send the IRS in. So I've met many people over the years, whistleblowers, who've been told that there are consequences and will send the IRS in and do an audit if you don't shut up. So there are many and various ways that Trump could have been crushed by this network that controls finance and taxation and all of it. And so I think it's incredibly, in so many ways, naive to think that this guy has come out of nowhere. I mean, look back to 2008, mate, and it appeared that Obama had come out of nowhere. These people do. And at the very least, Trump is acceptable to them. And some of the things that he said about, like, for instance, killing the families of terrorists, I mean, it's just bizarre, ludicrous. And, you know, I've been researching all this now for 26 years nearly. And, you know, one of my rules is don't judge every step at the moment the step's being taken. And we're not really going to have a really sound fix on what this Trump thing is all about until after the conventions. And we see what comes out after that and which way it goes. Because the political system is totally, totally rigged. And therefore, if someone is coming through the political system and is able to fund it all, then there's a reason behind it.
And
and it's not just spontaneous.
And that would be an automatic red flag to you, correct?
It would be a red flag to me. And I'll tell you this too. There's another aspect to this that I would suggest. Because of this process over the decades of two blatant masks on the same face being put forward for you to say, which one do you want? They call it choice. People have more and more become disillusioned with the political system and ceased to see it as a way to change anything. And if you like, the audience for it, the credibility of it in the eyes of more and more people has been falling and falling and falling. They need to shore up this political system so it stays in place to continue to do what it's done all along, which is put puppets in power. So when you had Obama come in, the selling point of difference was first black president, first black president. See, it's different, first black president. Now they're talking about Clinton being the first woman president. Oh, yeah, Hillary, first woman president. You've got Donald Trump. Oh, no, he's an outsider. He's a renegade. He's a rebel. And it seems to me akin to a stage show in a theater that started to lose audience. Not as many people are coming. So you get around a table and you think, how do we get people in? What gimmicks can we use? What methods can we use to entice people in so we fill the seats? And in terms of a focus on the political system, Trump, Clinton, Obama have been godsends when it comes to actually the election campaign and maintaining an interest in it.
And sort of on their part, kind of shaking things up a little bit.
In the background.
Yeah, because in Rome and Greece, it was give them bread and circuses. As long as they're enamored with the show, you can do a little sleight of hand over here and kind of get away with what you want to get away with if you're the elite.
Yeah, well, exactly that. And, you know, what we've had recently with the trouble at the Trump events with people protesting and Trump supporters hurling abuse back, the abuse going both ways and stuff. I put a picture on my website when that happened, and it was a line of puppets with strings attached, and that's what the system wants. It's classic divide and rule. People are being manipulated to hurl abuse at one group of their fellow Americans, and abuse is coming back to their group of Americans. And it's over a complete irrelevance, in my view. An irrelevance because in the end, whoever gets into the White House, what the elite want will happen unless the people stop it. And we're not going to stop it by people fighting with each other and allowing themselves to be divided and ruled into irrelevance. We're going to stop it by all these people who bought these manufactured sides, realizing that's what they've done, and putting their hostility down, putting their weapons down, whatever analogy you want, and coming together and realize that Clinton supporters, Trump supporters, Bernie Sanders supporters are all being manipulated in the same way to conclude that the political system is a way of changing anything. It never has been, so why should it start now?